Have you ever wondered why Lily Lovebraids' hair moves like it's alive? Seriously, in every scene with Lily, her hair behaves nothing like normal hair. It crawls out of ventilation shafts, grips walls, slithers across the floor, reacts to movement, and sometimes even appears in a room before Lily herself does. And the more I studied the Chapter 5 materials and the experiment 1468 documents, the more I started realizing one terrifying thing. Playtime Company may not have created just a doll with long hair. They may have created an entire living locomotion system, because real human hair physically cannot move on its own. Hair has no muscles, no nerves, and no contraction mechanics. A strand of hair is basically a dead keratin structure. Normal hair only moves because of wind, head movement, or outside force. But Lily's hair works completely differently. It grabs objects, supports weight, bends at impossible angles, crawls through ventilation systems, and sometimes moves as if it's making decisions on its own. And this is where things get really interesting. According to official materials, Lily Lovebraids is Experiment 1468, created from Gracie Green, a former counselor from the wellness and integration sector at Playtime Company. She participated in psychological conditioning before the Bigger Bodies initiative and was later transformed into an experiment herself. But the strangest part is the materials used for her hair. The documents directly mention horsehair artificial bones, grafted finger bones, and biological materials. And that no longer sounds like hair at all, because if artificial bones and biological tissue are actually embedded inside the braids, then Playtime Company wasn't creating hair. They were building an entire biomechanical structure. And this becomes incredibly disturbing when you compare Lily's hair to real biological systems. For example, octopus tentacles. An octopus has no rigid skeleton inside its tentacles, yet they can move independently, hold objects, squeeze through narrow spaces, grip surfaces, and even react separately from the brain. This is called a muscular hydrostat system, a dense network of muscle fibers capable of generating movement without a rigid skeleton. And Lily's hair behaves in a terrifyingly similar way. But there's one detail that makes this even worse. The Playtime Company documents specifically mention grafted finger bones. Most likely, these were used as the segmented internal structure of the braids. Essentially, every braid Lily has could contain hundreds of tiny bone sections connected together by flexible biomaterial and artificial muscle fibers. At that point, it's no longer hair, it's a spine. That would explain why Lily's braids can maintain shape, support her body, cling to walls, crawl across ceilings, and stretch across massive distances. But the most terrifying part comes next. Because Lily's hair doesn't just behave like limbs, sometimes it reacts faster than Lily herself. And this becomes especially disturbing when you remember how octopus nervous systems work. Octopus tentacles contain enormous numbers of neurons directly inside the limbs themselves, allowing them to perform simple actions almost autonomously. And suddenly everything starts fitting together. Playtime Company may have embedded an entire nervous system directly inside Lily's hair. That would explain why the hair moves independently, why it appears before Lily does, why it can search pathways through ventilation systems, and why Lily herself rarely attacks directly. Because Lily may not be the one hunting, her hair is. And the more you think about it, the more terrifying the true length of her hair becomes. Because nowhere in the Playtime Company materials does it ever explain where the hair actually ends. In almost every scene, we only see a small portion of the braids. The rest of the hair mass could be hidden inside the walls, ventilation systems, elevator shafts, and the spaces between factory floors. Practically speaking, the entire Playtime Company facility is the perfect environment for a creature capable of spreading long, flexible fibers through the internal infrastructure of a building. And that leads to the scariest possibility of all. What if Lily doesn't even need to be near her victim? Maybe only her nervous system moves through the factory. The hair could sense vibrations, search for movement, react to sound, crawl across walls, and surround a person long before Lily herself ever appears. And suddenly, it becomes obvious why her scenes feel so deeply unsettling. Because it creates the horrifying feeling that the factory itself has already been infected by her hair. As if Lily isn't a doll inside Playtime Company, but Playtime Company itself exists inside Lily.